All right, welcome back to the Autodesk booth. My name's Will Harris, the Flame Premium Product Manager, and I'm very excited to have with me one of the legends of our artist community, Mr. Steve Scott here from Technicolor. So welcome, Steve.
Thank you. Good to be here.
Thank you so much for making it here in part of your, I know you're in the middle of a very crazy busy schedule right now, but that's a great problem to have. Yeah. And with some of the amazing work you do, which we're going to speak about.
Okay.
But as means of introduction, let's just come down from 30,000 feet from really the special relationship that Technicolor and Autodesk have with those 175 Flame Premiums in their kind of global organization, a whole lot of licenses of various Autodesk software between the different business units, as well as a dedicated engineering resources. And one of our dedicated engineering resources is here, Mr. Bernard Malenfant. He's hiding in the back there.
If I could just throw in, I've had the great pleasure of working with Bernard for a while now. And the thing that's great about Bernard is Autodesk is a very big company with a lot of things going on in various departments. Bernard makes me feel like it's a quick, nimble, responsive startup garage business.
That's awesome.
And that's what's incredible about Bernard is that responsiveness, his great demeanor with customers, and making it feel like you're a small, nimble company that can navigate the slings and arrows thrown at it very quickly and responsively.
Well, that is the challenge of production indeed, and thanks for saying that. So indeed, there was a 3-year global business agreement between Technicolor and Autodesk just this past January. So it's very exciting. But coming down, we can look a bit, coming down from 30,000 feet, that is Technicolor Production Services, part of the group that Steve is involved in here with MPC, Mikros, Mill, and Mr. X as well. And then all the way down to focus in on the Los Angeles installation there, the Sunset Gower Studios and other facilities around LA, where you're doing this premium full-service finishing, digital post-production, including the marketing, grading, finishing, a whole VFX department, a lot of really cool talent there. But then zeroing in further on Steve himself, you are, as I said earlier, a legend in our industry, and the credits are, obviously too much to fit on a PowerPoint without it being very busy. But I'm not sure if you've counted how many DIs you've done.
Over 100, I know.
Over 100.
So
it's amazing stuff. And some of your credits are just unbelievable and aspirational to us all, coming from obviously your Flame credits before you were doing core color grading on the Titanic, Apollo 13, the Digital Domain days, and of course I wanted to quickly mention your background in fine art, in painting and illustration. And I can tell you, I'm fortunate enough to have seen some of Steve's portfolio. There's different levels of art that people can do in our industry, but right here is a guy that's able to draw and paint with the traditional methods.
Well, and I don't know how you do this without that kind of background, because basically what we're dealing with is imagery. And what is imagery? It's light, shadow, composition, perspective. I'm old enough I come from a world where you didn't have the computer to come up with the CGI model. You had to actually look at floor plans and elevations and create something out of scratch. And you had to know the rules and laws of perspective and reflectivity like a map in your mind that you could just call on. So that's the most valuable and useful thing in my career is my foundation and artistic training.
I mean, I'm just amazed that you can paint and draw with photorealism. That's an amazing skill, and you were kind enough to give us a couple of examples of your work. Look at that, hand drawn.
This is, again, in the days before computers were doing CGI stuff, and you'd be given a floor plan and an elevation, and you had to figure it out. And it's basically math, geometry, and really understanding how surfaces would react. It's not exactly photorealistic. But for the day, it was our best attempt.
I mean, for me, it's the understanding of how light hits things is something.
This is the Rincon Center in San Francisco, so you can actually go into this lobby, and that's, I'm happy to say, what it looks like.
So your background in architectural visualization and drawing, I mean, it's amazing stuff. Here's another piece of work that you did.
And my self-portrait right there, because I used to be in a show called Beach Blanket Babylon in San Francisco when I sang and danced for a living. Different kind of song and dance I'm doing now, but...
And then we threw in a piece of work from one of your team, one of your current team.
I'm very proud that the underlying philosophy of that importance of that artistic foundation carries through in our team. This is Charles Bunag's work. He's an illustrator and a painter as well, and this is one of the many pieces he did. And when I saw this, I thought, you know what? If I'm in a pinch and if I need somebody to draw some clouds quickly with the tools at hand, I can trust this guy to do it. And his work is amazing. And though we're working on the Lustre, he does a lot of paint work, believe it or not. We both do, using the existing Lustre tools. But wait till we get on Flame.
Got it. So that's an amazing background, and bringing that into the software arena and our tools, the Lustre, the Flame Premium. We wanted to now focus in on showing you a little bit of behind the curtain of how Steve works, how he and his team work at the Technicolor facility there, and really some of the philosophy behind humans and technology working together, which I know is a big thing for you, isn't it, Steve? Mm-hmm. We're gonna step through here, but maybe you could explain a little bit as we go about what you've called the collaborative creative environment.
Yes, the idea of this is for every system I know for color correction, it's concerned with what I do here and the DP sitting next to me or whatever creative is working in Junction. And we work on these complex projects, particularly with Marvel, where you've got a range of interests and a range of people who need information regularly. And how can we think of not just what I do, but of the environment that we're working in, the creative, collaborative environment.
Right.
And so toward that end, we've developed some of these tools. So for example, the True View mode, we can project in a truly color calibrated way exactly what I'm seeing on my monitor. So if I need to go in and zoom on something, I'm not looking at a monitor to see what is the most magenta pixel I can find. I can see it on the big screen color calibrated. And one of the great advantages of Lustre is I can go into the pixel level. That means if I see a slight cast of magenta, I can focus just on those magenta pixels, and I can color correct them. And so you get these incredible, subtle, nuanced color corrections that you could do no other way. And that's been very helpful. And also to say, the customer says, we have a problem. What is that? What's happening there? We zoom in, we see. For visual effects, it's incredibly beneficial or not beneficial, depending on the work they did.
Got it. I've seen you change the eye color like that. It's amazing.
Yeah.
Another thing would be perhaps the storyboard mode.
Yes, and this is just a way for us to project the true chronological storyboard of the movie. And it's a revelation to the DPs in particular because they can see, you can make decisions and things can jump out to you when you see it all on the big screen in a way that they wouldn't otherwise.
Right.
And various sizings of you just saw we zoomed in on one. Other systems have this as well, but this one is for certain reasons is awesome.
And then this is by the way, this is the Guardians of the Galaxy we're looking at here. One of the jobs that one of the very cool projects. But here we wanted to then talk a little bit about the flag system.
Yes, and this is a way. What happens is, do you have another image of the flags, or is it just this one? Yeah. Yep. Okay, this is perfect. So when the client walks into the room and they want to look at the shots and see, okay, where are we? There are 100 new shots dropping in. We've got problems with some. Some have been repoed. Oh my gosh, there's so much going in. How can we ever keep track of it? Well, when the client walks in, this is what greets them very often. Maybe a little more simplified, but they can see that the salmon-colored dots mean that that's a temp, or the aqua-colored dots means we need to do roto on that. So in an instant, they can gauge the status of the entire reel strictly visually. Just they have to walk, go, oh my gosh, there's still a lot of temps in this one. What's happening? Or wow, it looks like we're really completed. And the great pleasure for me, of course, is turning all of those off in the course of the job until we just, and then everyone knows, wow, we're really almost there. But it's a way of communicating complex information, variety of information, very quickly and intuitively, and in a way no one needs to explain.
And indeed, the groups goes even further with that concept, huh?
Yes, and actually, if you can go back to the previous. So with the groups, you can grab any number of these shots, and you can, as they talked about before, collapse them. So I could say, I want all the A side of a conversation. And you can collapse that. But what's incredibly powerful and what makes this more accessible to people just starting out and makes color correction more intuitive is I can say, okay, I want to take all the wide shots of a certain scene. I'm going to put those together. And you just drag and drop. The similar way to, if you have an iPhone and you can move your little icons around intuitively by just rearranging them, that's how this works. I grab a bunch of shots, I move them over. So I have this arrangement. Now I've got my wides, my mediums, my close-ups of the A side, my close-ups of the B side. I can play those in context right now. None of it affects the editorial. It's strictly a playback. It's strictly an intuition way of color timing. And you'd be surprised. You think everything matches, but you get similar shots together, you play them, and boom, it bumps. Oh, we've got an issue there. So it makes, instead of having to go back and forth through a reel and keep track of where you are and what you did, you can put it all together. Also, if you have a complicated reel like we do in Guardians, where you have battle in the sky, battle in the ship, intimate moment over dinner, something, we can have all those things that you're jumping back and forth between scenes. You can take all the battle in the sky stuff, put that all together. So now you've got a little reel of just the battle in the sky playing and just the intimate dinner, not broken up, not split up, but together in a way that makes it more simple and intuitive to make the decisions.
Indeed, there's even more. The notes, the ability to define
yes, and
notes.
This is particularly important because we will deal with multiple colorists on a single project. Dave Franks, our very able colorist here, who's done great work for Marvel. Thank you, Dave. We were able to say, I have an issue with this shot. We need to do this. We have our own naming convention. That's a date, my initials, and we work things out. And we want to refine this even further. But we can communicate with all the artists, so no one. I could do my work, leave, not have to talk to anyone. Everyone knows by the way we work what needs to be done, what's expected, when it's due, and makes our job a lot easier.
So great for collaboration. But then even the person sitting with you, the client, has some data in front of them too, right?
Yes, yes.
So the Lustre second screen is really a way of seeing all the useful metadata on a mobile device there in the room.
And this is very powerful because, again, the whole idea of the collaborative creative environment. We've got VFX editors, we've got editorial staff, and very often if you're in a session, somebody will say, what shot is this? What version is this? And you've got all these people who need to know. So you can either stop a session and deal with these things, or you hand out, when people walk in the door, you hand them an iPad, and every shot you're on, it keeps right up with you. So if you're on one shot, you have all the information to do with that particular shot, the time codes, in points, out points, thumbnail, notes that have been taken. So you have all that information at the fingertips. We never have anybody stop, and it's really like crack for VFX supervisors and editorial people because they want that information and they have it at the moment notice, and it makes them look good. If the producer or DP say, I thought we fixed this shot, what version is it? They can, version 13, because they know it's sitting right there in front of them and it makes them look good.
All right, well, in the interest of time, we're going to just review some of the great projects done with this, and we're going to jump into a live demo of the Revenant. So these are some of the projects done. And more projects done. There's some pretty high-profile work, as you can see here, that Steve has been working on. And then we want to talk to you specifically about the Revenant, which we're going to show you some examples of. So let's move over to our flame.
We can do the lights.
You're already here.
We can do the lights.
Yes. Jim, would you mind lowering the lights at this point?
Move this over.
Go for it.
Okay. So we'll just jump in here.
And go ahead and give us the two up. So we have the Lustre and the Flame side by side on the same system. We're going to be showing you some connected color in a moment, but if we can now focus in on the Lustre. Thank you.
Okay, and we're just going to... So we're just going to play a few of the clips, and then we'll talk about what we've done with them. So first one. Looks pretty straightforward. And these were the sorts of shots that we had a lot of work to do on. And Will, in all of his very sweet naivete, said, would you please talk about how you discussed with the DP how you went in and you had this plan and then they followed it and they came back and did all this work together and how you managed that and organized it and how cooperative they all were. And I wanted to laugh because what they do is they go out and the director says, okay, shoot that. Okay, turn the camera. Oh, look at that butterfly. Wow, that's great. Well, that's not, well, maybe we'll figure out how to work it somehow. So, and they're up in the wilds. They have no control of lighting. They have no control of anything. It's freezing cold. And it's like, okay, guys, here's what we shot. Let's try and make it work editorially. And oh, by the way, all of these have to cut together and work together in one seamless take. So you can see the various setups we're going through. People are very concerned about, on a pixel level, about all of this stuff as we go. And
I just wanted to say that you're being very humble about how much work you do. And it's just amazing to me that with a film that was shot mostly at twilight, that we can see the faces. There's no noise in the images, and just the way that you've manicured these images to look so natural and to the period is just amazing to me.
Well, one of the most fabulous aspects of me is my humbleness. So thank you for that. So this is something we'll go into a little bit. But you look at this, and our goal is that no one would know we did anything. We want it to be as naturalistic and normal and not play our hand at all, ever. And then the last shot we're going to just briefly discuss is this one. And you can see these are a series of shots where you don't see where the cuts are. So the first way we deal with this is we will have the various pieces and we'll time them. Once we get them, once they've decided on something, we'll time them so that they match at what would be a logical cut. And we use whatever tools or tricks we can to do that.
That's very cool stuff.
Okay, and now let's go back and seems like we've lost control here. 1 second here.
We lose control of our keyboard?
We did. 1 second.
Oh, wait, there. I think we got it back.
Okay.
Go for it.
Good. All right. So let's talk about some of the things we did here.
Maybe, yeah.
Okay, and then we'll take this away. And so you've seen the moving footage. So this is kind of just a little breakdown of some of the things we did. So we would get a piece like this, and this would be pretty much raw. And then we do a basic color correction. And then we have the incredible use of the tools that Roto. So the great thing about Lustre is you have these wonderful Roto tools, but you can combine an infinite number of them and use them in conjunction for not only the subject, but for occlusions that go in front of them. You've got a great planar tracker and a 1-point tracker. I'm hoping for a 2-point tracker at some point in the future. But you can do some wonderful tracking on this too. So for here, for example, we use our keyer, we use our matte, combine. We've got a highlight. He wants to push the highlight on the face. So we go from here to, and we'll get there. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, so there. We've isolated the face further. We've got our highlight. So now before and after. And this is not a properly color calibrated projector, so please forgive me, it's driving me crazy. Here we have just the side of our face. We can use this matte, which you see extends quite a bit beyond her head, in conjunction with this matte, which isolates it around her head, and the use of those two enables us to refine it just in that area. So now we're just going to deal with shadow, because Chivo really likes a directional light feeling, and as much as he does it in camera, he wants to emphasize it. So we break down the face, for example, so before and after. And then we have this wireframe of a matte we're doing here. You can see we're combining a key with our matte, and the before and after of that wants a little more light there. Again, our matte, very articulated, you can see. And we have a gradation on the side, so we want to manipulate the sky a little bit on this side. And you can see the fine matte we're able to pull with the incredible keyer. So before and after on the sky. An overall vignette, before and after. And we wanted to do treatment here. Very subtle shadows offered. A lot of times I'm dealing with color corrections that will roto some big thing for 1/4 of a point of less magenta. But but that's what we do. So here you have the start of the shot, the way it came in, our base correction, and the final, which is quite different. And it looks very heavy-handed here, but in the actual shot, I don't think it quite was. In this shot, you'll notice our friend walking up. Again, a base color correction, our very complicated mats. And as you can see here, we've got a left side, right side. We've got an overall mat for him. And so we want a highlight side. So we've isolated the highlights here. You saw how long that shot was. So we're constantly tracking various pieces and applying our tracking to various parts. So we go from here to here, before and after. Then we wanted to play with the sky. Again, our key is wonderful, before and after. Before and after, that golden hour. It's so funny when I hear that, well, everything was shot golden hour. No, it wasn't. It may have ended up looking like that, but that's how their taste went. And now we've got the, I'm sorry?
I was just going to, sorry to interrupt, say it feels more like relighting than sort of color grading.
Well, it is in a way, but here's the thing I really want to emphasize. The person who really had this concept, I mean, we had worked together on Birdman and Gravity and Children of Men and all that stuff. Over the time, my skills, my knowledge dovetailed with Chivo and his desires. And how could we fill that? And the incredibly satisfying thing for me is he has a request. He doesn't know if it's impossible. He doesn't care. He just asks. And we figure out how the hell are we going to do that? And working in conjunction with Technicolor to develop the tools, and my background as a flame compositor, we combine all those to develop these workflows in time. So you've got the shadow side, not only combining the matte, but also a key and a number of mattes before and after. Then an overall vignette before and after. And then again, here's the source. Here's a overall correction after, before and after. Similarly, in this shot, this is a little more subtle, but this is how it came in. This is base correction, a lot of tracking, obviously. And here we're getting into the combining. This is not nearly the kind of detail that we had on other shots. This is I would say this is a relatively loose matte. But not only do we have the ability to combine mattes, but at different levels. So I wanted to open his face up more than the lower part. You can see this wonderful softness I'm able to give that's contoured like a work of art. And I tell people, this movie is really two movies. It's the one you see and the animated one underlying it, because almost every frame and almost every character is animated. And Chivo, when he shot this, before we even shot it, he said, I'm going to tell you I'm going to need 8 weeks in post because we're going to need to do mattes for everything. So Chivo conceived this, and he was absolutely right. So when he came in, we'd done all this work, and all he had to say is, brighten his face. We had the mattes ready. So this was before and after. You can see it's very subtle, but that's what this matte was used for, that little bit of subtlety. Here again, we're getting a little more complicated. You can see the guys talking. We've got mattes in the wings ready to come up for occlusions, both sides, before and after. Again, pretty subtle. We want to go into the water using the keyer. If you look to the far right side, before and after, it's just a little more aqua. Face again, we want to just key in some magentas out. You can't even see what the before and after is on this, but we did something, I know. And again, the ability to go on single pixels and take out magenta, for example, before and after. Before and after. It's subtle, but it's there. An overall vignette, before and after. And then you have, again, our beginning, our base grade. Oh, no, that was it. Before and after. So it's pretty subtle, but it means a lot to Chivo. And now I'm just going to, so you saw this work here. Let's just go into this one and just show one of the mattes here.
While you're teeing that up, let me just remind everyone that Steve here and the DP Chivo have collectively won the last 3 Academy Awards for cinematography. So that would be Birdman, Gravity, and now Revenant. The last 3 years in a row. Congratulations, Steve.
Yeah.
I think we can...
Well, here's the secret. If you want to do that in your future, work with Chivo and Alejandro and Alfonso Cuarón, and it'll all kind of take care of itself.
But I think we are starting to understand the level of art, fine art that goes into this stuff, and how you can get such an epic-looking, beautiful period piece produced. Now, you guys had a few jokes along the way too, didn't you?
Well, one of the things, because my background's in illustration and we worked on all these projects together, I was just doing a little goof drawing of something. And Chivo saying, we had done Bird Band together, and Chivo said, oh my gosh, there's this big explosion over the poster. There was all this drama about something. I'm sure you guys heard about what an incredibly complex shoot it was. So I said, well, here, I've done a sequel thing as though The Revenant were the sequel to Birdman. And so we were able to do posters for them because Chivo said, you got to send me that now. And fortunately, Alejandro and Leonardo loved it, and so they've got this hanging in their house, and that was kind of fun. So it's amazing how the background in art will just rear its head sometimes, and this was one of those moments. And that's it.
Last thing to mention, we're going to take a quick look at Connected Color Workflow, our new tool, if we may.
Yes.
Which really, you were part of the design or the inspiration behind this to really provide a better creative palette of visual effects tools to artists like yourself and others, aspiring and a lot of artists that want to be able to cross the bridge between color grading and visual effects. And really our solution was this seamless connection between the Lustre color grading environment and the entire environment of Flame. So we'll take a quick look at that. I wanted to ask you a little bit about your HDR experience.
Sure, and let me tell you how it was an inspiration. I went on to Lustre after a decade's work on Flame because I thought it was amazing to see these images big on screen. And Lustre seemed, forgive me, incredibly primitive as far as a tool set relative to what I was used to as a Flame artist. And may I just say, as a colorist, of some note, the compositors out there, you Flame people, you're the ones with the incredible talent. I mean, I bow to you because I know how hard, you're creating something out of nothing often. And so you guys have incredible skill sets that now with this connected color, this is a realm that you can enter. And it's going to be amazing. And Lustre, you're not going to really have a problem with. Lustre, you'll get instantly. But that incredible experience you have of compositing, figuring out those sorts of problems, brought into the color timing environment, I'm kind of shooting myself in the foot because I really don't want the competition. But, you guys have a great path ahead of you based on that kind of skill set.
Yeah, really what I wanted to do very quickly was just to show how you could do all of the compositing inside of Flame. In this case, just a sky replacement with tracking in keeping with this piece, but you could do camera tracking, visual effects, graphics, and all the other kind of stuff that you do in Flame. And that can arrive right back here in the Lustre underneath your grade, in fact, so that you could still continue to carry on live grading on top of that composite. And other than that, Steve, just to mention that you are doing HDR mastering on your current projects.
Yes.
And that we're excited about that as a new art form. What do you think of that?
Well, I just want to tell you, I want to comfort you. If you're entering the world of HDR, if you have the incredible able help that I do, like my brilliant producer Mike Dillon and our color science people, Christian Zach, Chris Kuchka, Josh Pines, people to support you, because I'm just an artist, remember, I'm not a technical person at all. It's just all about what looks good. It's the same kind of decisions you'd make if you were timing anything. How do you feel it looks? The great thing is you have this extended dynamic range, so now instead of the lifted blacks, when you're looking at like the Dolby projector, there's no difference between the Duvetine black edges and the black in the screen. And that's incredible. And it's a boon for 3D, now that you can see 3D in 14-foot lamperts. It's like you're looking through a window. If any of you ever get a chance to see a Dolby digital presentation in 3D, and I know at the El Capitan in Los Angeles, don't miss it, because it'll really open your eyes to what that is. And it doesn't need any explanation. You'll get it like that. So don't fear it. Just use your great judgment, and you're going to have no problem at all. But I also want to say, I was at Digital Domain using the first Flames long ago, and it's the gold standard for compositing. And look at the decades of experience they've had to build it. And now you've got all those tool sets available in Lustre. And it was in 2002 when I was the inspiration, saying, "You guys have got to get these tools in here. Lustre sucks compared to Flame," and so it's so great to see these capabilities brought in now where they should be. And I think this is the greatest leap forward for color correction I've ever had the good fortune to be involved in. And this opens a whole new world, plugins, compositing. Other systems have it, but Flame is the gold standard, and no other system will be able to catch up with the decades of experience they've had building this. I know I'm going on and on, but
that's all right. I'm loving it, actually.
but no, I was there with Digital and Main in the beginning when they're developing Nuke. What was Nuke? Nuke was, wow, Flame's too expensive. We got to do something on our own that we can afford to spread out. It wasn't Flame. It wasn't as interactive. This is where I want to be, and now I can be. And this means that you could have a whole complex visual effects set up that you can go into your Lustre room and show, and you can say, not only I'm going to color correct the whole thing, I'm going to go into the back range of mountains or the tree, and I'm going to move that, and you're seeing all that live for the first time. So that's an incredible advantage, and I'm looking very much forward to doing my own demo of it sometime in the near future.
I can see that you're going to have fun with it. I think all that's left to say is thank you for coming and explaining this from your point of view. Thank you.
My pleasure.